In this video we are going to study about real numbers and absolute value, and here I'm going to explain only real numbers. What is real numbers? Real numbers are the numbers that we learned till this time, and irrational numbers. Rational numbers, it's including also the integers, whole numbers and natural numbers. And irrational numbers, rational numbers and irrational numbers, when we bring them together, we are getting real numbers. So rational number part you know, which is written in term of a over b. A over b form is rational number, and irrational numbers, also here it is q and q naught. Irrational numbers are the forms which are not in a over b form. So it means that root 2, root 3, pi or e cannot be written a over b form, cannot be written as rational number. That's why these numbers are called irrational number. This is another topic of the math, and we are going to study later about this one. But now we are going to continue with absolute value. Absolute value means the distance between the origin and the point. And when you ask absolute, and you're mentioning here the distance, you're mentioning the absolute value with double bar near the sign. Here x is our variable, and when I say absolute value of x is equal to 5, when I say absolute value of x is equal to 5, x is a point which has 5 unit distance to the origin. Here we have one extra because there are 2 points has 5 unit distance to the origin. One of them is -1, -5, the other one is 5. The first one is -5, then second one is 5. That's why when we ask absolute value questions, we have always 2 different solutions, and we are going to mention with this x1 and x2 because there are 2 different solutions. X is equal to, x may be equal to 5, or x may be equal to -5. And we can add here only one maybe extra information. If x is greater than 0, it must be 5. If x is less than 0, it must be equal to -5. Okay, here there are some exercises, and we have to solve these exercises. I'm going to start with x plus absolute value of x is equal to absolute value of x is equal to 3. And here, as I mentioned before, if we have absolute value, we have to think about 2 different solutions. So what is written inside the absolute value sign, I'm going to write, then I'm going to say it's equal to 3, what is the result, and the negative of it. So x1 will be equal to 3, or x2 will be equal to -3. Again, I'm solving question. What is written inside the absolute value will be equal to 5, or what is written inside the absolute value will be equal to 5 or will be equal to -5, because we don't know actually what is inside the absolute value, and it will be positive or negative because the absolute value shows the distance, and for +5 and -5 the distance is same. So x is equal to 5 minus 1, which is x is equal to 4 going to be, or when x plus 1 is equal to -5, x is equal to -5 minus 1, x is going to be equal to -6. So x1 is equal to 4 and x2 is equal to -6. It's going to be. If I give another exercise, the last one I'm going to give, the D1, 2x plus 1 is equal to 7. So 2x plus 1 will have 2 different solutions. One of them is 7, one of them is minus 7, 2x plus 1 will be equal to 7, and 2x plus 1 will be equal to minus 7. And I want to mention here when we are writing the solution part, we cannot use any more absolute value. We need to leave the absolute value sign. That part is important. And then 2x is equal to 7 minus 1. 2x is equal to 6. x1 is equal to 3. It's going to be. And the second one, 2x is equal to minus 7 minus 1. It's going to be 2x is equal to minus 8, and x2 it's going to be equal to minus 8 over 2, which is equal to x2 is equal to minus 4. It must be. Also, I can add here what I made. I passed a bit past here. When 2x is equal to 6, it means that x is equal to 6 over 2. So x1 is equal to 3. It's going to be. Here we have the properties of the absolute value. I'm going to try to simply explain what does it mean. Absolute value always must be greater than 0 or equal to 0. Here it means that this is for the first one. This is for the first one. Here, if you choose minus 7 as an absolute value, the result is going to be equal to 7. Or if you choose 7 for the absolute value, the result again is 7. If you choose minus 2 for the absolute value, it's equal to 2. Or if you choose 2 for the absolute value, the result is again 2. Whatever you decide, always it must be greater than 0 or equal to 0. The condition is equal to 0 only if you choose the absolute value 0. It's equal to 0. So we are understanding that any number, real number that you are writing, it's not important. Always the result is greater or equal to 0. It must be. With respect to this one, 7 and minus 7, as you see, they are getting both same result, which is equal to 7. Absolute value of 7 and minus 7. Or we can I can write for the second one, absolute value of minus 2 is equal to 2, absolute value of 2 is equal to 2, which means absolute value of 2 and absolute value of minus 2, they are equal to 2, which means absolute value of x and absolute value of minus x, they are equal to each other. Here there's a multiplication of the absolute value. When you multiply to absolute value, when you multiply inside the absolute value, this is not going to affect outside of the absolute value. Or when you divide by absolute two terms in absolute value, you may take the absolute values for both of the terms. So this is going to be 3 and 4 here. 3 and 4 in multiplication and division, absolute value is not going to affect the operation. This means that one. The last one is absolute value. This is called also triangle inequality. Always the sum of two numbers, absolute value of two numbers, always less or equal to individually one by one of absolute value of the terms. Here I can use this exercise. 2 plus 3 in absolute value is always less or equal to absolute value of 2 plus absolute value of 3. It's going to be, and absolute value of 5 is less or equal to 2 plus 3. 5 is less or equal to 5 is less or equal to 5. This is the case. 5 is equal to 5. Here we have greater or equal to sign. So when you choose the sign of the numbers same, the result must be equal to each other. But if you choose with different signs, like 2 minus 2 plus 5, minus 2 plus 5, the absolute value of minus 2 plus absolute value of 5, it's going to be, and the result it's going to be Here, let me get a bit right and change the color, not to confuse with the previous exercise. Then the result is going to be, as you see, absolute value of -2 plus absolute value of 5, which is here this is absolute value of 3, here it's going to be absolute value of -2, and absolute value of 5 is 5. So the absolute value of 3 is less than always, less or equal to absolute value of 7. If you choose with different signs, as you see, one side, the 1 by 1, the absolute value sum is greater or equal to sum of absolute value. Okay, with respect to this one, we can easily understand here this one, the sixth one, and the second one is same, because when we say x minus y, the minus term, the sign is minus sign, is going to be equal to minus x minus y is equal to minus x plus y, which is equal to y minus x. So y minus x is negative of x minus y, and we know that the negative of the number is equal to, in absolute value, it's equal to itself. That's why here the negative of the number, it's not going to affect the absolute value. Here there are some exercises, and we are going to finish this one. In absolute value, we have 3 times in absolute value, 3 times again absolute value, 3 minus 10, and we close the absolute value. Then here parenthesis, then absolute value. Okay, then minus 10 minus 8. What is the result of this operation? This is the first one, A1. And firstly, we are going to do, of course, in absolute value, we are going to think that absolute value is operation. Here, absolute value of 3 times 3 minus 10 is equal to minus 7 in absolute value. Then minus, this is the absolute values of this one. Then minus 10 minus 8, it's going to be equal to minus 18. Actually, I should correct this one. Minus 18 it's going to be. Then it's going to be equal to, here this one, it's going to be equal to absolute value of 3 times 7, because absolute value of minus 7, it's going to be equal to 7 times minus absolute value of 18. Absolute value of 18, it's going to be equal to 18, and we can write this term here, and this is going to be equal to 18 directly. 3 times 7 is equal to 21. 21 in absolute value, it's 21. 21 minus 18 is the answer going to be, and that's 3. Okay, and the second one, here absolute value of 5 minus 2 plus absolute value of minus 3 square, also this is another absolute value, plus in absolute value minus 3 in parenthesis square, and minus 2 minus 5. Here 5 minus 2, this is good exercise. 5 minus 2, it's going to be equal to 3, absolute value of 3, plus and the term is here minus 3 square, and because absolute value of minus 3 is going to be equal to 3, and minus 3 square is equal to 9, it's going to be here, pardon, I forgot this one, plus sign, it's going to be absolute value of minus 3 square is 9, so it's going to be equal to absolute value of 9, and here minus 2 minus absolute value of 5 is equal to minus 3. It must be. Here absolute value of 3 is equal to 3 plus 3 square is equal to 9 plus 9 again it's going to be, because absolute value of 9 is equal to 9, and minus absolute value of minus 3 is going to be equal to 3. And do not confuse, this is in absolute value, that's why you're not going to multiply the signs, only we are finding the absolute value of minus 3, and that's 3. This minus sign is coming from this operation. Okay, 3 and absolute value of 18 minus 3, this minus 3 and this plus 3 you may simplify. The answer is absolute value of 18, which is equal to 18 also, and that's equal to 18 going to be.